Morning, everybody. How are you guys? Good. Enjoyed the warm weather we had this past week? It was so nice, right? It's cooler today, but it's still, sun came out, it was so beautiful. I'm really happy to be here this morning. The title of my sermon, I'm sorry, Dawn, I didn't send like a really PowerPoint. Yeah, Dawn's amazing, by the way. She just like goes with the flow and works so hard to make sure that the things go well. So I just want to say thank you to her. So the title of my sermon is When I Behold the Lord. But really, a few weeks ago, Shinwanim gave a sermon, and I don't know, I guess most of you were there, and some of the things that she was saying, particularly this point of offering, all things to God, surrendering to God, really had me thinking these past few weeks. And was kind of reflecting on an experience I had several years ago. It was after I finished college. I was invited to join something called NLTP, which stood for a National Leadership Training Program. I was already blessed and living with my husband in California, and I kind of made this decision that I was going to move to New York. In hindsight, I didn't go about it the best way since I kind of made it on my own, but I was very fortunate that my husband, still supported and allowed me to go, even though at the time I didn't really give a very clear reason. I was kind of like, this is something I have to do. So he stayed in California for several months. He was preparing for the GREs and applying to grad schools. So I arrived in New York, not really sure. I knew we were going to be fundraising. It's the only thing I knew. And there was a small group, and actually several very wonderful people from Bridgeport were there. Hiroshi Takarada, Sophia Kirkley, Yoko Matsushita, Susumu, and Miki Kotokawa. Susumu-san was kind of they were the parental figures in this small center we were renting. And there were some other people too, including some young first gen who had been witnessed to by STF members in Berkeley. And sometimes people would come and go, usually for providential, it was like providential time periods, 21 days, and then maybe go back to whatever they were doing, 40 days. And so the team would change every now and then. Basically, we were fundraising. We did it locally, and every night we would come back to the center and have dinner together, and we would share about our reflections over the past day, our questions that we had. And for me, the fundraising that I did at that time was very different than when I was on STF. I mean, I was like 18, 19 when I was on STF. This is when I was like 24, 25. And the focus of the fundraising was all about building and deepening your relationship with God. There wasn't really, a focus so much on external goal. And I could really see why Father, when early time of your life of faith, Father sent a lot of people out fundraising. Obviously, aside from the need for money, it's kind of incredible the way you can see Spirit World work, when your heart and your attitude are really aligned with the principle, and you have a clear goal that you want to make. It's very, usually you can see something happening, really quickly. I'm sure that a lot of you guys have, stories from your experiences in the past. But it's also very intense, right? There's not really time to relax. And every time you open that van door, you're kind of like clinging to God because you're going out to face, there's this formidable looking office complex or, person that you're going to approach. And it's kind of easy in that instance to really think about God, So what was different about this experience for me in LTP was that there was a lot of education about not just thinking about God in those sort of intense moments, frontline moments, but in doing all things with God. We would, like I said, we'd go back to the center every night to a very delicious home-cooked meal, which we were very, very grateful for. And the mantra, just like I said, we'd have a lot of time to kind of think and reflect. You don't really get that on MFT. You're so busy, sometimes it's not so easy to take that time to kind of reflect and internalize what you're experiencing. And the mantra of the house was to have your first thought in the morning, like when you wake up, to be of God, and then your last thought before you go to sleep, to be of God, rather than just like, oh my God, I'm so tired, or oh my God, I have to get up now. So, we know from reading Father's words, from listening to his speeches, from personal experience with him, that your Father is always living, every moment thinking about God. And I kind of randomly opened this page in the Pyonghwa, and it was interesting because your mother was talking about Father, and I don't have the exact quote, but just where she was saying that Father really wanted to learn how to drive a lawnmower, and so he did. I guess it was the ones you sit on, and that when he would mow the lawn, it would be with this heart of wanting to create a beautiful lawn for God and for the members, and that he also learned how to lay down carpet, and that with every time he's hammering a nail in, that he's doing it with this greater sense of purpose of doing something great for God. We hear about when Father is on the ocean and fishing, he's so focused. I mean, it's just the act of fishing, but his heart is completely with God. And he's thinking about so many, what making condition, and like every little thing that he does, even if it doesn't seem like such a spiritual thing, but that's his lifestyle. So, we did not in the center, like we would do a lot of bowing every time you leave the house, every time you come back in. And I was definitely one of the more king-type people on the team. And it was really challenging for me initially. Sometimes it felt very forced. But I quickly began to realize that, it was very easy for me to think about God when I was preparing to go fundraising, or when I was facing some kind of challenge. And it was actually really difficult for me to do it when I was watching a movie or just kind of enjoying time relaxing on the weekend. This is going to be my time, And that it was hard to really have that heart of sharing it with God and inviting God to be part of it and offering it, even though it's such a simple thing. So we really made a point during that time to include God in everything, because it wasn't something that came naturally, yet. And I really had to make a conscious effort to try to turn my mind and my heart to God, even in something like going to the bathroom. Reverend Higashino used to be here in Bridgeport, Hiroshi Higashino. So oftentimes we would have lectures or something on the weekend, or there'd be like a little mini workshop, and he would share this example of this woman, older woman, who every time she went to the bathroom would say thank you. And then one day her grandson asked, why do you say thank you to the poo-poo? And she says very clearly, well, because if it doesn't come out, I'll die. And so she had such a heart of gratitude to God every time she went to the bathroom. That, interestingly, that has always remained with me. It's always, never forgot that. But one main point of all of this training, all of this kind of practicing, everything that we're doing, are we thinking about God? And offering, the joyous moments and the boring moments and the, just kind of trying to include God in it. From morning until night was like a preparation almost for the, relationship between husband and wife, specifically the sexual relationship between husband and wife. That God can be at the center of that relationship, Because, in that moment, it's very, very easy to be thinking about yourself or thinking about your desire rather than having this motivation really be that I want to bring joy to God. I want, that the motivation of that is to really, to allow God to be there and, for it to be for God. And Father talks about it all the time. He's like, husband and wife come together in true love, because it's 90-degree angle, boom, God's there. The quickest way. There's many, 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 Father's words talking about that topic. And that this, this sort of daily practice was so that, when we're in that moment, that, that the motivation is definitely, it's a complete reversal of what the motivation was at the time of the fall. So then God is able to be there and rejoice in that moment and can bless the family that's created through that relationship. So that was, one of kind of a strong point that we were being taught. And I didn't want to talk too much about it because I feel like that could be a sermon topic in and of itself. But when Shivanam gave her sermon a few weeks ago, she spoke so heartfelt, so sincerely about really offering all things to God and surrendering her life to God. And I really realized that, I've been blessed to have had, these experiences in the past, but that haven't really been living my daily life that way. And it really resonated with me when she said that if we're not living with God, that we're acting out of our fallen nature. And I could see that this is true. Not that I'm doing anything evil, but that just in my relationships with my coworkers and my family, that oftentimes it's really more of a horizontal relationship, kind of centered on myself and my viewpoint, and that I haven't really been creating that space for God to be able to, be at the center of those relationships and guide those relationships. So she spoke about surrendering everything to God, the good and the bad, your opinion of yourself, your opinion of others, your insecurities, your fears, resentments, your accomplishments, to offer all of it to God and ask and pray that He can, turn what needs to be turned to right and that He can strengthen the good that's there. And I remember being told the same thing when I was in Champyong. I know I always mention Champyong when I but it's sort of the first thing you're asked to do is just report everything. Just go to the prayer hall and just share everything that's in your heart, any worries you have, any concerns you have, thoughts that are coming to your mind that you don't feel like are part of you, or anything. Just report everything. And I feel like Shinwa said one thing is repentance. I feel like sometimes you need to report everything first before you can really get to that place of being able to repent sincerely. And also this point of offering whatever we accomplish. In the principle, we talk, there's the Abraham story. He did all these things, and then the last thing, he didn't cut the dove, and Satan was able to invade that offering. Everything that he worked so hard for, just that one small act of sort of not having the right heart till the very end. And it's a not always, for me at least, not always a very natural thing, especially if you do something well, I did good. But really having this heart of offering that accomplishment to God so that there's no way that Satan can claim it. Putting yourself in a humble position, really allowing God to claim every aspect of that, not holding on to any of it for yourself. And I feel like this, this sharing with God the things in your heart and offering to God the things that we accomplish, including the things that we're not proud of, really asking that God can take dominion of that it's a beginning, a middle, and an ending point for for us to make that condition for God to come into our life and to guide us in, the path that we're on, and to really fill us with, his tremendous love. And so whether your spiritual life is like healthy and vibrant, or whether you feel like you need, a little bit of a jump start, or whether you feel like you're just beginning in this journey of finding this, deep personal relationship with God, that is something that we can do. We can share with God. We can report all things to God, and we can practice really trying to have this heart of offering. So I guess I just wanted to encourage you as you start this new week to really share with God what's in your heart, whether it's positive or negative, if you're struggling with someone or something, or if you have done great and you're feeling awesome, that's wonderful, offering that to God and just asking, what is it that He needs for you to do next? And when I was preparing for this sermon, the lyrics of When I Behold the Lord sort of popped into my head, and I haven't sung this song in a really long time, but I have a very vivid memory of being in STF, and I was struggling with something, which I don't remember what, but I was struggling, and one of the sisters had a notebook, and she had put the last verse, boundless His love and kindness, boundless His love for me, exclamation point, on her notebook, and I read it, and I just remember feeling so much love. And so I wanted to close this sermon I wanted to invite you guys all to stand up, and that we could sing the song together with the congregation and offer it to our Heavenly Parent, and invite Him to be here, and that He can, feel the joy and beauty from it. I really feel that it beautifully illustrates the longing of our original mind to connect to God and to feel God in the depths of our soul and in every part of our being and our body, and to share that with others. And then also, I think the love that God feels for us, the beauty and the hope that He sees when He looks at us and all the things He wants to share with us. Let's offer this to God.